Dignities and debilities in astrology. What are they? How are they used? In this video, I'll go over what they are and show a method to use them to evaluate planets in a chart. Dignities and debilities are a way to evaluate the strength or weakness of each planet in the chart, qualitatively and quantitatively. Dignities are positive or fortunate combinations of planets and signs, or planets and houses. There is an easy flow of communication or expression between the sign and planet involved. Debilities are the opposite. They are combinations of planets in signs or houses that hinder the flow of communication or expression. There are two categories of dignities and debilities: essential and accidental. Essential dignities are related to the planets in the signs, and accidental dignities are things like house placement, elevation, placement near other objects, and others. The main ones are the essential dignities and debilities, and they are rulership, detriment, exaltation, fall, mutual reception, triplicity, peregrine, terms, and face. Starting out with rulership, a dignity, also called domicile, is the sign that a planet rules. So in astrology, this means the planet is more comfortable and the expression is positive because both share similar archetypes. Practically speaking, rulership means that the planet and sign share similar archetypes, so there's a clearer flow between the two in one's psyche, and ultimately better expression of both. Where does rulership come from in astrology? Why does certain planets rule certain signs? To keep this video shorter, I'm going to just let you read this for yourself. Pause to read. It's a bit of history from the Encyclopedia of Astrology, and it's one explanation of where rulership can come from. The opposite of rulership is called detriment, and it is a debility. And this is the opposite sign of the sign a planet rules. This is said to indicate a harder expression of the planet and sign. A planet is in a sign that is opposite to the energies it naturally has, to how it naturally expresses. These first two are the easiest to remember. One is the sign a planet rules, the other is the opposite of that sign. Next up, exaltation and fall. Exaltation is considered a favorable dignity for the planet and strengthens its expression in a positive way. Though not considered as favorable as domicile, a clearer way of looking at exaltation is the planet is enhanced beyond its expression alone. The sign adds to the planet's strengths and vice versa, and raises the planet up in some way. The sign enhances the planet beyond its normal expression. Different than that of rulership, where it's more unequal playing field, and so there's more comfort. The two combine in a way that ultimately is better for the expression, since it is combining different yet complementary archetypal energies. Again, pause to read about the potential origins and history of exaltation and why certain planets are exalted in certain signs, according to the Encyclopedia of Astrology. Fall, on the other hand, is the opposite sign of exaltation. A sign weakens a planet when it is in fall, and it dampens its expression. The flow of energy is difficult, and both sign and planet weaken each other. Some authorities limit the exaltation and fall to specific degrees of their exaltation signs, which I'll show here. Something interesting is that the planets show harmonious aspects between their ruler and exaltation signs. For example, the Sun rules Leo and is exalted in Aries, and these two signs trine each other. The Moon rules Cancer and is exalted in Taurus, and those two signs sextile each other. And you can go on and on with each of the signs, and it works. A third essential dignity is triplicity. And this is just if a planet is in a sign that shares the element of the sign the planet rules. There is a regular positive flow of energy between the three signs of the same triplicity, so a ruling planet of one feels comfortable in the signs of the same element. For example, Mercury rules Gemini, so when Mercury is in Libra, it is considered in triplicity. Another essential dignity is mutual reception. This occurs when two planets are in each other's ruling signs or exaltation signs. Regardless of the planets involved, even if they usually don't get along, when they are in each other's signs or exaltations, there is a better flow between those planets. Peregrine is considered an essential debility. Peregrine is when a planet is in a sign that has no other essential dignity or debility, and the planet feels alien in the sign. Communication is difficult between the planet and sign, like being in a foreign country and not speaking the language. It's not impossible to do, but it makes things more difficult. There are two other essential dignities which aren't used as much, terms and face. Simply put, terms divides up each sign into 5 unequal sections, with each section being ruled by one of the 5 planets Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn. When a planet is in the section of a sign for which it rules, it is said to be in its own terms, and this is considered an essential dignity. There are multiple terms used depending on the astrologer and time period in history, and here are some examples. Face, in modern times, is simply the decans of each sign. We divide the signs up by 3, 10 degrees each section, and the signs of the same element, the triplicity, rule each section. A planet can be in face when it is in the decan it rules of a sign of the same element. When you see a planet is in triplicity, check to see if it is also in face. Some astrologers break this down one step further and give each of the decans a day and night sign, 5 degrees each, but this is not used as much, and I won't go into it here. Astrologers have devised ways to tabulate the scores of the strengths and or weaknesses of a planet in the chart based on the dignities and debilities. They give a numerical score for each planet based on the dignities and debilities as a general overview of how that planet operates in the chart. The idea is the higher the number, the better the expression of said planet. The lower the number, the worse. For the essential dignities, you add the said points, and for the debilities, you subtract. Here's a brief example chart to show how to evaluate the D&Ds. I will just use a few planets, and this is a made-up chart. The Sun is in Libra, so fall, -4 points. The Moon is in Aries. The Moon has mutual reception with Mars in Cancer, so +5. Mercury is in Libra, so is in Triplicity, +3 points, as well as being in mutual reception with Venus in Virgo, since Mercury rules Virgo, Venus rules Libra, so add 5, giving us 8 for Mercury. Venus is in its fall in Virgo, so -4, but again has mutual reception with Mercury in Libra, +5, giving us +1 for Venus. Mars is in its fall, -4, but again, like we've mentioned with the Moon, has mutual reception with the Moon in Aries, giving us +5 for a total score of +1 for Mars. Jupiter is in Leo, so it is in triplicity, giving us +3, and Jupiter is also in face, so +1 more, giving us a total of 4. And finally Saturn, which is peregrine, -5. This leaves us with our totals of the Sun -4, Moon 5, Mercury 8, Venus 1, Mars 1, Jupiter 4, Saturn -5. This gives us some values and insights into the expression of the planets in the chart. We can see the Sun and Saturn with negative values, showing they are parts of the psyche one could work on more, parts that are weakened or have difficulty expressing. Likewise, we see Mercury and, say, the Moon have higher values, showing these planets will be prominent in the psyche and will express positively and easily. I have just used the essential dignities and debilities here in my example, but one can take it further by incorporating the accidental dignities and debilities. Accidental dignities and debilities are other ways a planet can be strengthened or weakened in a chart, the most common one being house placements. They are not like essential dignities, which show positive or negative expression of a planet in a sign. For them, the expression is just stronger or weaker. Negative qualities can be strengthened through an accidental dignity, and positive expression can be weakened or dampened through an accidental debility. Accidental dignities are not necessarily benevolent. The increased strength may result harmful if expressed through unfavorable aspects. The number of planets which are accidentally dignified is a character, an index of importance. So, when combined with the essential dignities, we get a type of expression and how strong it expresses. The strongest accidental dignities is placement in the angular houses, the 10th, then the 1st, 7th, and the 4th, with the cadent houses being the weakest. Another accidental dignity is when a planet is in a house which corresponds to the sign it rules. So, Sun in the 5th house, Moon in the 4th house, Mercury in the 3rd or 6th house, etc. Modern astrologers usually just use the term for house placement or elevation. The dignities and debilities are a helpful way of describing general qualities of a planet in the chart. For looking at planetary energies, the parts of our psyche, and how they flow and express. In history, before we understood psychology, astrologers had to have a way to describe the different flows of energy between a sign and the planets in us, varying degrees of positive or negative expression. These words are that. They are another way to break down the chart and create a clearer picture. Most authorities attribute to an essential dignity the force of a harmonious aspect, and to a debility that of an inharmonious aspect. All these things don't happen in a vacuum in the chart, and one must take the whole chart into account, beyond just the D&Ds. A planet that is exalted, but has many hard aspects to it from other planets, will not express as strongly and positively, for example. Look at everything before jumping to conclusions about a planet. Cheers, have a great day.